Hi everybody, welcome to Green Leaf Plants. I'm Blair Hoy, the Managing Director Facility, and today we're going to be talking about Dianthus. Dianthus is a very versatile crop and it fits for multiple applications in the retail world. So the first question you really have to ask is, what's the distribution channel that you are selling to? Is that a perennial blooming program at a large big box supplier? Is it a landscape distributor? Or is it an independent garden center or a grocery chain outlet? So there's different series of Dianthus that are applicable for each one of those. So for example, in the big box Dianthus market, you could look at American Pie, Super Troopers, you could look at Early Birds. Those are just a few of the items for that sales channel. For the landscape distributor market, Dianthus Mountain Frost, the Vivid series, the Kahori series, all fit that landscape kind of mounding effect that the Dianthus will fill into once it's planted in the beds. And then finally we have a Flow Dianthus series, which is a programmable Dianthus that's specifically for the grocery chain or the independent garden center market. The Flow series is not hardy, but it can be programmed and produced weekly as a pot crop. So the breeders of all the new Dianthus that are coming out are really pushing the envelope as far as vernalization needs. There are many series out there and available today that don't need vernalization. So for example, the Constant series, the Lila series, Kahori series, Mountain Frost series is another one. Vivid is another series that, from a production scheduling standpoint, can be started in from a rooted liner late December, January, and they will have blooming crops available for retail sales by late April, early May. In a northern latitude, you might need to start a little bit earlier. Southern latitude, a little bit later. So when you receive your liner shipment, the best thing to do immediately is unbox the shipment, review it for quality or freight handling issues. If you do receive product that's been damaged in transit, take a couple pictures, get those pictures back to the broker rep, and that'll facilitate a credit if needed. If no credit's required, immediately unpack and get the trays into an unheated greenhouse. It depends on the time of the year that you're receiving it. You might need to have some minimal heat, say something around 50 to 55 degrees if you're in the middle of the winter. In the springtime or late spring, you can actually take them out and put them on the ground. At that point, you want to irrigate them in with some clear water and transplant them as soon as you can within that week of receipt. Now, transplanting the liners, the best thing to do, and this is the new variety Garnet, Red Garnet from Ball, is to plant that rooted liner right at the soil level of the plug, maybe slightly above or slightly below, but what you don't want to do is bury the crown of the plant. When you plant that at the right height, that will actually facilitate a reduction in root problems and or transplant issues that you might experience post-transplant. After transplanting that plug, depending on what type of container you're going into, be sure to use a pasteurized soil mix. At that point, you can irrigate with a 100 to say 125 parts per million of an even, well-balanced fertilizer containing microbes. Dianthus is a crop that enjoys bright sun and cool temperatures. So when transplanting in the fall, the best thing, if you can, is to plant it outside. If you're in the north, you should be transplanting those liners before the end of August. Hopefully the early August is much better. In the south, you can actually wait until later in August and October. That bright light facilitates much better branching and just improved overall growth. Now, if you don't have the opportunity to start your crop outside and you need to move it inside and transplant it underneath the greenhouse, you still would start with a covering, but you wouldn't need to heat it in the fall from a planting standpoint for your production schedules. But you would need to turn the temperature up in the north and the south. I would say a starting temperature would be, nighttime temperature could be as low as 55. You could go as low as 50, but that might lengthen the time for the crop. Once established and the pots actually reach the edge of the containers and they are still inside the greenhouse, you can actually drop that night temperature down from 50 to as low as 45 to 48. You can even go as 42 if you're ahead. Daytime temperatures, you'd be looking at 58 to 62 if you can manage that low of a temperature. Again, and that's inside. If everything was produced outside and you were finishing, you'd obviously need to cover your crop with a overwintering blanket. So Dianthus are not heavy feeders, but after transplanting, fertilizer at 100 to 125 parts per million of an even, well-balanced, containing micros is very critical for a quality crop. The other aspect is as the crop grows, you want to maintain or be consistent with about a 2.5, nothing higher than 2.75 on an EC listing for your soils during the growth cycle. Again, Dianthus are not heavy feeders. Any type of fertilizer will work. What you don't want to use is like a strong ammonium nitrate only nitrogen source. So insects are not a major problem for Dianthus, but you still need to be on the lookout for them. Aphids, thrips, mites are the major concern. Using an integrated pest management program and scouting your crop to understand not only what insect you're dealing with, but then the population levels that you're trying to eradicate is very, very important. The fungal pathogens are something that you should be concerned of, not only from a leaf standpoint, but also from a root standpoint. So monthly applications of a root-based fungicide is beneficial and highly recommended. Weekly and or bi-monthly applications of foliar sprays on your finished crop is also extremely beneficial on foliar diseases of Dianthus. Splashing water from boom irrigation or overhead irrigation in Dianthus production can create some issues with Fusarium. If that's an issue, again, you need to look at trying to irrigate as early in the morning as possible and eradicate, if possible, that splashing water. But Fusarium is one foliar disease that is basically a roguing issue, and you have to throw plants away versus a curative issue. Finally, when you source your liners, it's always important to source your liners from a clean stock producer. Just like what we do here at Green Leaf Plants, all of our Dianthus come from clean stock source. So we start clean to stay clean to provide you with a clean product at delivery.